Okay, so now we're going to talk about Eulerian walks and Hamiltonian cycles. And an Eulerian walk is going to be a walk such that you hit every single one of these, or that you go over every single one of these bridges. So the history of the term Eulerian walk goes back to a guy named Leonhard Euler, and he was trying to solve something called the 7 bridges of Königsberg problem. So Königsberg was a city then in Germany, now in Russia, I believe. Yeah, it's Kaliningrad. So the idea is, can I pass over each of these bridges exactly once? And it's going to turn out that's not possible. And we can look at the underlying graph of this, turn each chunk of land into a vertex and each bridge into an edge. And now if we connect these guys, we get a non-simple graph because we get these double connections, but that's fine. So let's say we start off on the island. Then we can go down here, and then we can go over here, and then we can go here. And then we can't go back here because then we're on an isolated edge. Or we can go here, and then we can either go here, but then we're on isolated, or we can go down here, and then here, but then we never touch this guy. So you can just keep on running through these examples, and you'll see that no, we can't do that. And the reason is, well, what's the degree of this vertex right here? This is degree 3, this is degree 3, this is degree 3, and this guy right here is degree 5. Turns out to have an Eulerian walk, we have to have at most 2 vertices of odd degree, because we need every single vertex to have the same number of ins as it has outs, except for the first and last. The first and last are allowed to, if the first and last are distinct, then we can have, so to give you guys the simplest possible example, here we go, we have 2 things of degree 1, we start off at 1 and then we go to the next one. So we have at most, we can have at most 1 or 2 of odd degree. But here we have 4 of odd degree. And if we have more than 2 of odd degree, then there is no Eulerian walk. And to give you guys, so to give you guys the definition straight, or the theorem straight from your textbook, here we have, if a connected graph has more than 2 nodes of odd degree that has no Eulerian walk. That's what we just used to prove that this right here does not have an Eulerian walk. If a connected graph has exactly 2 nodes of odd degree, then it has an Eulerian walk. This is an example of that, obviously not a proof, an example. And if a connected graph has nodes with odd degree, then it has no nodes with odd degree, then it can still have it still has an Eulerian walk, but the walk is closed. So that means that so if this is my example here, then I go here, here, here. Each of these guys is of odd degree. So it is, or each of these is of even degree. Each of them has degree 2. But we start and end on the same vertex. So basically we get around the fact that the start and end vertex over here are each of odd degree. So it loops back to your start one. So you get the +1 for being allowed out, and then the +1 for being allowed in, and they just add up to being even again. Okay, so we already talked about A, but to give a fuller proof of it, so if it is a connected graph that has more than 2 nodes of odd degree, then it has no Eulerian walk. So suppose it has at least 3. Three nodes of odd degree. Then at least one is not a start or end point. Because we can only have one start and one end, so that gives us 2 points. Call this vertex V. Because it's Eulerian, because we have an Eulerian path. So we're assuming, suppose cannot be the for an Eulerian path. For a path. We have in and out degrees. We have odd degree, any Eulerian path. Have to either start or end here. Here, because each time it goes in, and out, it takes up 2 edges, right? So it consumes 1 going in, it consumes 1 going out. And except for on the start or the end one, because that has only in or out. So there exists at the start or end. But we assumed it wasn't and got our contradiction. So this one is the one of the 3 that's easiest to see. But if we want to go on and show B, that'll be a little bit harder. So if a connected graph has exactly 2 nodes with odd degree, then it has an Eulerian walk, and every Eulerian walk must start at one of these and end at the other. So proof of B. B is going to be a similar idea. Basically, we start at a point of odd degree. Then we leave it. And it's down to even degree remaining. And then we just bounce around and our graph is connected, so we can hit every single edge. We can find a way to hit every single edge until we cycle through and then go into the last vertex. you can read a better, fuller proof on page 138. And then we're going to have essentially the same proof for C of just this time. We have to start and end at the same one. Interestingly, this one, though, it can start or end at any vertex because we can cycle all the way around. That if you have a cycle, then you have a cycle starting at any of those vertices. So, and this is a little bit more general than what your textbook says, because we can think about it in terms of in and out vertices, not just in terms of odd or even vertices. And that allows us to talk about directed graphs, which means that the edge connection only goes in one direction, not in both directions. So I'm not gonna bother fleshing out the proof for B. You can pull it up and check it in the textbook, but the textbook leaves C as an exercise for the reader. So I'll prove C with the assumption that we've proven B. So to show you guys here, if a connected graph has no nodes with odd degree, then it has an Eulerian walk, and every Eulerian walk is closed. So every single connected graph such that each node has even degree can be written as a graph that has a connected graph that has all vertices of even degree except 2, of odd degree plus 1 edge that connects those 2 vertices. 2 vertices are nodes. Therefore, if we ignore this edge by B, that subgraph is Eulerian, starting and ending at our vertices of odd degree. Then we can connect these one last time by walking over, by going over the new edge to connect the first and last vertex. So to give you guys a picture of what's happening here, this is one of the more simple examples. Here we have an Eulerian walk such that we go from here, like this can be our starting point and this can be our end point, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. But we go here to here to here. And then we can represent this guy as this plus this edge right here. So we have this underlying Eulerian walk, and then we just traverse this last edge that connects our first and last vertex, and that will complete a new Eulerian cycle to give us an Eulerian cycle. Starting at the start point. Of our previous Eulerian walk. Cool. So basically we can cycle back, we can use this to cycle back around. And we can basically, for any thing that satisfies the hypothesis of C, an even graph of a graph of such that every single vertex, a connected graph such that every single vertex has even degree, we can just take out one of those edges, and then we have the hypotheses of B, create that Eulerian walk, and then shove that one edge back in to create an Eulerian cycle. And it's a closed cycle, so considering it, because it starts and ends at the same point. So a Hamiltonian cycle is a cycle that contains all the nodes of a graph. So a Hamiltonian cycle, Hamiltonian cycle, if I have, let's say this, so this is almost K4, right? If I just put this guy in here, I would have K4. This is almost K4, and yes, I do, because I can go here, 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 here. I could also do a few other options. I could go down this way, and then here, and then here, and then here, to wind up around here. But this is, I'm sorry, actually no, that one would not work. So that I have to go exactly once. So if I go here, that's fine. If I go here, if I were to go down this path and then over here, then I would have to loop back up around here or over here. And in order to get here, that's not allowed. So this check, that works. If I go down here or here, then I'm isolated, I can't go back. So this is no good. Let's say we did this, that's no good. If I have something like this, go here, then that would be a Hamiltonian path, but not a Hamiltonian cycle. It's basically just, it's the same exact correspondence between Eulerian cycle and Eulerian path or walk that you would think of. So you just, there's a lot less that's known about this. Usually we have to just kind of check to see if there's a Hamiltonian cycle or a Hamiltonian path. If there is a Hamiltonian cycle, then there's definitely a Hamiltonian path, which just, so Hamiltonian path hits every single node once. Hamiltonian cycle hits the start node twice because it starts and ends there. So if I wanted to do a Hamiltonian path but not a Hamiltonian cycle on that above graph, this is like, then I would just do 1, 2, 3, and then I would stop before I go back and complete the loop. So that's it. We don't know nearly as much about Hamiltonian cycles. We don't have kind of a neat, tidy characterization of them like we have for Eulerian, for the Eulerian graphs, but they are also important.